The haunting of St. Agnes Church. Deep within the heart of the small, forgotten town of Blackwood, nestled amidst a forest shrouded in an eternal darkness, stood St. Agnes Church. Its stone walls were weathered, and its spire reached towards the sky like a skeletal finger. The townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the church, for it was rumored to be cursed. The legend told of a priest, Father Benedict, who had become consumed by a malevolent force that had taken residence within the church. One fateful night, he had vanished without a trace, leaving only his blood-soaked robes behind. Afterward, strange occurrences plagued the church: whispers in the night, shadowy figures seen in the pews, and eerie organ music emanating from the empty sanctuary. One stormy evening, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to investigate the church, drawn by tales of its haunting. Among them was Sarah, a brave but skeptical girl who believed the stories were mere superstitions. As they entered the church, the air grew icy cold, and the creaking floorboards seemed to groan in protest. The group split up to explore, each venturing into different areas of the eerie building. Sarah found herself in the confessional booth, where she felt a sudden, unnatural presence. She whispered, "Is anyone there?" There was only silence until a sinister voice replied, "Confess your sins." Panic welled up in her chest as she realized that no one else was in the confessional with her. Meanwhile, in the sanctuary, the others were startled by a sudden surge of darkness. The flickering candles in the nave extinguished, plunging them into pitch-black darkness. Desperate cries echoed through the church as they fumbled in the dark, their voices drowned out by the unholy organ music growing louder with each passing second. Sarah, trapped in the confessional, found herself recounting sins she had never committed, confessing to atrocities she could not have known. The sinister voice continued to taunt her, its words dripping with malice. In the sanctuary, the others discovered the source of the haunting melody: a ghostly figure playing the organ with grotesque, skeletal hands. Panic drove them to flee, but the church's entrance had vanished, replaced by a labyrinth of ever-shifting corridors. As Sarah's confession grew darker and more horrifying, she realized that the entity in the confessional was not a priest but the malevolent force itself. With sheer determination, she broke free, sprinting through the maddening maze, determined to save her friends. In the end, Sarah managed to lead her friends out of the labyrinthine church, the haunting melody fading as they emerged into the cold night. The church, once cursed and foreboding, collapsed into ruin behind them, vanishing from existence, leaving only whispers of its horrors in the minds of those who had survived. But the haunting of St. Agnes Church would forever remain in their nightmares, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can consume even the most sacred of places. In the quiet town of Ravenscroft, nestled deep within the woods, stood an old church that had long been abandoned. Locals whispered tales of its sinister past, and no one dared to venture near it after dark. It was known simply as the Blackwood Church. Legend had it that the church had been built on the site of an ancient graveyard, where the restless spirits of those buried there still lingered. The townsfolk spoke of eerie apparitions, ghostly chants, and strange lights that flickered within its decaying walls. One moonless night, a group of daring teenagers decided to test the legends. Armed with flashlights and fueled by curiosity, they ventured into the heart of the forest. The wind whispered through the trees as they approached the forsaken church, casting elongated shadows on the overgrown path. The heavy wooden doors creaked open ominously, revealing a dark, musty interior. Cobwebs adorned the pews, and the air was thick with a chilling silence. The teens cautiously explored, their footsteps echoing through the emptiness. Suddenly, one of them noticed a cryptic inscription etched into the altar: "Beware those who seek to unveil the truth." Ignoring the ominous warning, they continued their exploration, descending into the crypt below. In the dim light of their flashlights, they discovered a hidden chamber filled with ancient books and cryptic symbols. As they leafed through the dusty tomes, the temperature dropped drastically. Whispers filled the air, growing louder and more malevolent with each passing moment. Panicked, the group attempted to flee, but the doors slammed shut, trapping them inside. The room began to pulse with an otherworldly energy, and the walls seemed to close in around them. Terrified, they realized that they had awakened something ancient and malevolent. The spirits of the long-forgotten graveyard rose from their slumber, their ghastly forms emerging from the shadows. Tormented faces twisted in agony, they reached out with spectral hands, their whispers now deafening cries of anguish. Desperate to escape, the teens frantically chanted the words from one of the ancient books, hoping to reverse the curse they had unwittingly unleashed. The air crackled with energy as they recited the incantation, and the room trembled violently. With a blinding flash, the spirits were banished back to their restless graves, and the church returned to its eerie silence. The doors slowly swung open, granting the terrified teens their freedom. They stumbled out of the Blackwood church, their faces pale and haunted by the horrors they had witnessed. From that day forward, the legend of the cursed church was etched in the town's history, serving as a chilling reminder of the darkness that could lurk in the most unexpected places. In a small, forgotten town, nestled deep within a dense forest, stood an ancient church that cast a sinister shadow over the villagers. Its time-worn spire pierced the sky like a skeletal finger pointing accusingly at the heavens. Locals whispered of its cursed history, passed down through generations. Legend had it that the church was built upon an unholy burial ground, where the souls of malevolent beings were interred centuries ago. Those who entered the church after sundown claimed to hear eerie whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. One moonless night, Sarah, a curious young woman with a fascination for the occult, decided to unravel the mysteries that shrouded the church. She entered the graveyard, its tombstones crooked and overgrown with moss, and pushed open the creaking doors of the ominous building. Inside, the air was frigid, and the flickering candlelight cast grotesque shadows upon the walls. As Sarah ventured deeper, she noticed grotesque carvings on the pews depicting scenes of unspeakable horror. Her heart raced as she approached the altar, where an ancient tome lay open, its pages filled with blasphemous incantations. With trembling hands, Sarah began to read the forbidden words aloud, unwittingly unleashing an evil force that had been imprisoned within the church for centuries. A sinister laughter echoed through the chamber as the very ground beneath her feet seemed to tremble with malevolence. As Sarah desperately tried to flee, the church's doors slammed shut, trapping her inside. The walls themselves seemed to close in, their grotesque carvings coming to life, twisting and writhing as if made of flesh. The spirits of the malevolent beings rose from their unholy graves, their ghastly forms materializing before her. Terror overwhelmed Sarah as the vengeful spirits reached out, their spectral hands cold as death itself. They whispered